is deno.js, an alternative to Node.js. Okay, so first of all, the first thing I'm going to start from, what is Deno? I'm sure if you look at the names on the try company names, you've noticed that Node, reading from like when you're reading backwards, you get Deno. But let's actually look at what deno.js actually is. What makes it so special compared to Node? What are the differences? What are these design principles? The issues it's trying to fix and stuff like that. Okay, so here it says Deno is a safe and stable runtime environment for JavaScript and TypeScript baked on the V8 engine. So TypeScript support is a big selling point for Deno. It is written in Rust, and the creators of Deno had the intention of taking full advantage of all latest features of the JavaScript language. For example, its API supports the promise object and uses an E5 module as a default module system. They also designed it to be self-sufficient, no external dependencies required. Safety is a major design priority. It needs all access operations to the disk or online was basically issued. So now the thing is, Deno is an alternative to Node. So basically what they do is they do almost the same thing, because Node.js is also a runtime environment and also uses the V8 engine. But the difference between these two is that now Deno by default comes with TypeScript, while Node.js by default comes with JavaScript. And TypeScript alone is really something special, something that makes Node really stand out, because now I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot about JavaScript now. JavaScript is a functional programming language, and the issue with functional programming languages is that with functional programming languages, you cannot model real life situations, and now which is why most developers out there favor OOP, that is object-oriented programming languages. So TypeScript came about as a way to fix what you could call the fundamental flaws of JavaScript. So when you talk about using classes, inheritance, abstraction, encapsulation, which are the strong principles, the foundation of object-oriented programming languages, that's basically what TypeScript does. So you could see TypeScript as a superset of JavaScript. It basically is, to me, I normally like calling it overpowered JavaScript or JavaScript with superpowers. All right. So, and one other thing is that the the creators of Deno, despite the fact that Deno is kind of new, Deno is more of like a way of trying to fix all the issues that are which over the years have been noticed concerning Node.js. And the reason for this is that now, if you look, the creators of Deno were also involved in the creation of Node.js, and I'm talking specifically of Ryan Dahl. So he was one of those who was among those who brought out Node.js in the beginning. So it's seen more of like a way to fix those fundamental issues, what many people hate or find wrong with Node.js. Okay, and one other thing you'll notice is it also uses an E5 module as a default module system. So as we go on further, I'm going to fully explain to you guys why it's using the E5 module and not CommonJS, and what makes it what the main advantage is, the pros to using E5 instead of CommonJS. Okay, so now Deno creators had every intention to provide a strong alternative to Node.js. Hence, it's no surprise that even though they have a lot in common, there are a couple of major differences between these two. So let's take a look at a simple side-by-side comparison. So now Deno and Node. So over here you'd see that both of them are based on the Google's V8 engine. Take note, I'm not actually talking about vehicle V8 engines. So Deno is written in Rust and TypeScript, while Node is written in C++ and TypeScript. Then Deno is run in a sandbox with limited access. So Node, the question of access is limited to specific access rights of a user that runs the scripts. So now, this is a major selling point of Deno. So here you can say run in the sandbox with limited access, explicit command issue in the script required. So as we come further ahead, I'm actually going to elaborate more on the limited access issue and why in terms of security, a lot of people see Deno as a better or a far better alternative to Node.js. So over here, it says decentralized modules loaded from a URL. Why Node uses npm? So I'm sure a lot of you guys are conversant about Node Package Manager. It enables you to download um, external or additional packages from npm and stuff, and also to keep track with version number and everything concerning the packages that you have downloaded. Then one thing, Deno uses E5 module, Node uses CommonJS, and so now the main difference here is that now CommonJS is kind of like a very old version of JavaScript. Here, I mean, with CommonJS and install the API library, which is based on callbacks and all whatnot. But using the E5 module has allows Deno to use a lot of the latest features of TypeScript and JavaScript. Because, like I said, TypeScript is basically a superset of JavaScript. And the reason for this is that now, over the years or recently, there has been a lot of improvements in JavaScript as a programming language. And for example, when you talk about promises, asynchronous programming using async and wait and stuff like that. So basically, that is what the E5 module, which Node is built on, allows you to do. Because now, previously, for example, in Node, let's say you wanted to use promises or async await in your Node application, you have to get external packages for that. But now, what Deno has done is that most of these features are now baked directly into Deno, so there is no need to start doing external packages, which at the end of the day will end up increasing your file size and all whatnot. No, everything is baked directly into Deno, and it makes everything easier and development faster. Okay, so now apart from all this, what else is new? After all, we are not just talking about a new JavaScript runtime fully compatible with the current Node.js. Instead, Ryan Dow, that's the creator of Deno, and also um, was also among the list of creators for Node, took the opportunity to cook some things into Deno that he considered to be missing from his earlier creation. So this is where I said that it's basically after gaining a lot of experience creating Node, finding out the faults, the major bugs, the issues, then now he now created Deno to now try and fix a lot of these fundamental issues which he considers to be wrong with Node.js. Okay, so the first one here is that security is integrated. Now, by default, Node.js allows you to access everything, meaning you can read and write into the file system, make outgoing requests, access environment variables, and so on. Although as a developer, having that kind of access is a benefit, it also opens up a security risk if you are not careful when writing your own code. So instead, then you use command line arguments to enable or disable access to different security features. So if you need your script to be able to access, for example, an etc folder, all you can do is you can see this simple line of code here which says deno okay, allow read /etc my script.ts. So that will allow your code to read from the folder. Anything else, and you'll get a security exception. So this is similar to how other platforms handle security. If you're an Android user, you've surely been asked before by many applications to allow them access to different systems inside your phone, i.e., contacts, um, phone number, camera, and everything. And the same concept can be applied here by using these flags as part of the command line that excuse me see. So by using this flag as part of the command line that executes your scripts, you are providing the permission required by your code. So this is actually very important. For example, now let's say you mistakenly download because now when you're using Node to develop an application, security is very important. And this is the main issue because most times you are downloading lots of external packages. Sometimes you don't even know if these external packages are trying to or have malicious code that is trying to gain access to files in your system. There is no way you're going to be able to know sometimes. And now, because of the way Node is structured, basically Node has access to be it that system or that server, because the level of access determined by the particular Node application is only determined by the level of access that the user who's currently using that Node application has. So what this means now is that if you are running a Node application as, let's say, a user with very minor privileges, and this Node application has malicious code in it that is trying to copy data or read data and stuff like that, it will not be possible for that Node application to do such, because the user access will be restricted. But then imagine a situation whereby this this Node application now is being run by an admin. An admin has the highest privilege in that system or server. So you can see the security risk here. But the question now arose, what if you could actually, without the security level that the node application should be able should have, without it being dependent on, let's say, the user privilege, is it possible for you to now by manually restrict the files or the folders that this Node.js application, this deno application has access to? So that is why, in terms of security, a lot of people consider deno.js to be way better and more improved than node.js. Okay, the next one is now a more complete standard library. So JavaScript has improved its standard library since the first versions of Node, but it still has a way to go compared to other languages. Deno also try to improve this and claims to have a very complete standard library, allowing developers to use official tools to perform basic tasks and only requiring the use of external libraries like npm for complex tasks. Essentially, out of the box, Deno comes with the tools to add color to terminal text, work with external data structures such as binaries, CSV, YAML, and others, generate UUIDs, and even write WebSockets. And there are other more basic modules available as well, such as a system file system access, date helper, HTTP related functions, and more. So this is actually this is another interesting aspect of Deno. And the reason being that Node.js by default is kind of limited, in the sense that there are a lot of packages which should have already which should come with Node as default, but don't come with Node as default. So what this means is that a lot of times developers have to get these packages externally and stuff like that. But what Deno does is that most of these very important packages are really baked directly into it. So there's no need to waste your time going to download the package externally and all that stuff. Just it's already there, you can simply use it. For example, now let's talk about when you're trying to create a basic HTTP server, for example. Now, so I'm sure a lot of you are fully aware that with Node, yeah, you could either have to download the Express npm package, or you could download Fastify. But with Deno, there is no need to do this. You can just simply with a couple of lines of code, you can simply get a sample server running quickly, making everything very easier and saves time for you. Okay, then another major advantage here is integrated TypeScript. So now, if you're a fan of TypeScript, which I am, then Deno got you covered. No need for external tooling by default. The transpilation from JavaScript is done internally, so no need to worry about that. Although by default, Deno takes care of a lot, you can override the configuration by using your own tsconfig.json file. Okay, and the default configuration is to use strict mode, so any ill-advised coding practices will be alerted immediately. So just like I said earlier on, coming with TypeScript integration is a very big win for Deno.js. I mean, reason being that previously, for a developer to be able to use TypeScript with Node.js, you had to go through a lot of annoying setup. But now, with the way everything is now, it makes everything far more easier for developers. And of course, we all know about the excellent and amazing properties of TypeScript when it comes to programming and its major advantages over JavaScript when using it to provide to create Node.js applications. And another thing over here is that even though a lot has been taken care of under the hood, you can still easily overwrite the configurations just by adding your own TS config files, and those TS config files now putting in the settings that you want your own Node and deno applications to work on. Okay, then so one more thing, so this no more npm or node modules folder. So this one is a big deal since everyone and their mothers have had something to say about it in the past. Is it too bloated? Is it a wrong way to distribute dependencies? It is definitely one of the most controversial aspects of Node, and Deno decided to get rid of it altogether. So how is Deno handling dependency? So far, by simply allowing you to require modules from anywhere. In other words, you can simply do so you can just simply import the particular package from the URL. So no need to have your own centralized repository anymore. But you have to be careful with this practice since node modules from third-party sources you don't have control over, leave you open and exposed. So now the issue about this is that, for example, let's say you are creating an application. Probably this node application has only 5 MB, but by the time you start installing all the packages and all whatnot, because normally if you look at the default Node.js application, you notice that you have the node modules folder there, the package.json, the package.json. So the package.json basically shows you, allows you to add, let's say, define external scripts that you want to run, keep track of versioning for all the external packages or modules that you've installed and stuff like that. So now the issue is, now by the time you start adding most of these external packages, you realize that your node application has only a size of, let's say, about 5 MB, would end up growing as large as 300 and something MB. And you wonder why, when you know most of the stuff in there, not even using them. So this is one of the most annoying aspects of the node modules folder, because a lot, it is really overbloated. It really overbloated. And so this is another important factor that Deno is trying to fix. I mean, import only what you need. There is no need to have a folder where you have a lot of files and folder that you are not even interested in, and they just end up taking up more space than is necessary. Okay, so in fact, our good power package or JSON is also missing. Dependency management is now simplified by having a list of modules and their respective URLs on a file called depts.ts. But what about versioning? I hear you ask. Well, you can't specify the package version on the URL. It's not really elegant, but it works. So a normal depts file would look like this, and okay, and that will export modules. And if you wanted to change their version, simply modify the URL accordingly. The imported code is cached, by the way, so the first time you execute the script and until you run it again with a reload file. So over here you could see, since you are removing the node underscore modules folder, you don't really need the package log and the package.json and the package log.json. So this is where Node decided to now introduce a brand new way of dependency management and versioning. So for their own method was to use the depts.ts file. So for me, I find this quite interesting. I would really love to see how this works. But then, as we all know, Deno is still at its infancy. So probably in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we would see how well this takes on, or if they will be forced to find another alternative. But this seems like a very, 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 very interesting alternative to the almighty npm and node modules folder. Okay, so apart from all these, what else? So there are other features included by Deno, such as bigger tooling out of the box with things such as test runner, debugger, file watcher, and others. But then again, some of these are just APIs provided by the language, and you need to code your own tools in order to use them. Okay, so now take the example in the file watcher API provided to you by deno.js. If you are looking for a similar solution to Node1, then you have to build it yourself. Here is what a 23-line script line script that solves a similar problem looks like. So another major interesting, or should I say interesting, aspect of Deno is that now, as developers, you want to write as little code possible by trying to achieve the same functionality. So for Node.js developers, I'm sure everyone would have known about NodeMon or Light Server, sorry, or Live Server and everything. And obviously you know that NodeMon is what NodeMon basically does is that it serves your files and also keeps watches the file. So once a change is made, it can now reload the entire application during development. So now the thing is that now if you look at the code for NodeMon, you realize that it's a very I think almost 1000 lines of code. I might be wrong, but it's a lot, a whole lot. Now, so when you wonder, okay, now looking at heading over to deno.js, you now realize that a similar functionality which is provided for us by NodeMon or Live Server can be achieved in deno.js using only 23 lines of code, and I would say that's unbelievable. For example, and this is a typical example of it. So not only do you now have to write less code, but this less code you are writing will give you the same features of something that has like a lot more number of lines of code and stuff like that. So it is a very big thing. Okay, so now the big question now is, will deno.js replace Node.js anytime soon? So, well, for me, I would say not really, to be honest. Deno is great, but Node and JavaScript has evolved to meet the industry standards. Is it perfect? Heck no, but like everything else in life, there is no perfect when it comes to programming languages. Deno is no different simply because sorry. So Deno is no different simply because right now it is just the combination of around 2 years of work on an idea. It hasn't been tried and tested in production systems yet. It hasn't been reviewed and put into weird and unintended use cases to see how it deals with those border situations. And until it does, it will just be a toy for early adapters to play with. Maybe in a year, we'll start hearing from companies sharing their experiences with it and how they've solved the newly found shortcomings, and eventually the community behind it will adapt it to a point where it is useful. Will it replace Node then? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So this video is just it. Despite the fact that Deno is trying to fix a lot of issues that are associated with Node.js and these two runtime environments, despite the fact they are similar and um, have the same creator, but are very different in the way that they work or they run. So now the thing is, Deno, like I said earlier on before, is still at its infancy. Um, will it be adopted as universally as Node.js? Well, I guess that's just a question of time. So we'll just have to wait and see. However, currently it is showing a lot of prospects. Um, okay, so I hope with this I've been able to just demonstrate to you guys a couple of things and a couple of differences between these two runtime environments, what makes each of them special, and basically it's more of like trying to predict if Deno is here to stay or if it's just some random short-lived gimmick that probably the next couple of years is going to die off. Well, I think probably with that, you can decide for yourself and decide if you would want to use it, if you would want to wait, or if you are simply not interested in it. Thank you very much.